Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for watching, and it's back to Star Wars Legion. It's been a long time since I've shared any Star Wars painting on the channel, but the recent release of Mando and Baby Yoda, or Djarin and Grogu as I suppose I should call them, but I won't, really inspired me. I thought lovely models, pick them up, do a bit of Legion painting. In the background of the first few shots of the video you'll also see there's some Stormtroopers that I took the opportunity to finish unit of Stormtroopers off that have been staring at me half done on the shelf for quite a while to add to my Stormtrooper collection. And if you do want a Stormtrooper painting video, check out the channel because I've got some obviously other Star Wars Legion painting guides on there. Now I wanted to show a little bit of the build process or how they come raw on the model, because Mando and Baby Yoda, you get one Mando and the only option really is to put the rifle on his back or not. But with Baby Yoda you've got two full bodies and two full heads, so you can build two different options. You only get two bases though, but I have got a conversion in mind potentially later to use the spare Baby Yoda body with. I went for the frog out of the mouth build as you've seen from the thumbnail, because that I think is a bit of a classic iconic thing from the series, and part of the reason I got excited when these models have come out, I've just rewatched The Mandalorian and it was just good timing. A bit of Star Wars for a while, never going to hurt anyone. I did put Baby Yoda onto a little rock to raise him off the base a little bit, because I use sand on my basing and I didn't really want it trapping onto the bottom of his clothing. I wanted to keep it a little bit free of that. Now base coating, sprayed them both with a black surface primer through the airbrush, then airbrushed Mando around with aluminium to make a bright sort of colour scheme, and then Baby Yoda with like a flat brown colour, and then really it's straight into the painting. I've taken that exact same flat brown, because it's just literally flat earth, airbrushed it through and then mixed a bit of white in to do the detailing around the cuffs and sort of the collar of the model. So really very muted tones are going through here. Didn't put a great deal of white into this, and it is just a brushed on like highlight layer. It's almost dry brushing, the technique I'm using, leaving a lot of the black showing through in the undercolours, but just gently on there. Now onto the skin, you could go through a variety of different greens on here, but I want to keep it relatively simple because I'm going to put a wash layer on there. So just a nice bright green. Again, all my colours are going to be in the top left of the screen, so you can check them all out and follow along exactly if I don't mention what the colours precisely are. But really just a good coverage on the skin there, and we're going for a little bit of vibrancy in his colour tone. And again, lots of greens involved, so we're doing a slightly different green onto the frog that he's eating. Again, if you watch the series, the skin colours between the frog and the thing he eats is actually fairly similar, but we needed to stand out a little bit in the model. Now I did go over the eyes a little bit when I was doing the green skin colour, so a little bit of black into the eyes. Now inside the ears, I just wanted a bit of a variance, so I'm taking the same green that we use for the skin, mixing a bit of flat flesh colour in there, and you can see there different green tone in the ears there, just to put a bit of visual difference, and we'll work on the highlighting later after the wash layer that we've talked about. Now it's really interesting painting Star Wars Legion figures when you've been doing other game systems for a while, because it's a very plain colour scheme to be used on most of the models, because it's a little bit more realistic, and that even translates across to Mando. So I'm using some very similar colours but just different browns. So Mando here about to work on 3 different browns. So a chocolate brown on all of his kind of trousers, his cloth under his armour, anything that's clothing like. I haven't managed to film it because the filming went wrong, but you'll see that I've done the rest of his cloak back in black, and I've also done like the vision slits in his helmet black, but we didn't sort of film that. Now again, another brown. So we've done the chocolate brown on his clothing, and we're now doing a flat brown onto the leather patches of his sort of bandolier, and also onto around his trousers and the leather parts there. And be careful when you're doing it to not get any of this brown onto like his armour panels and those kind of things, because it'll be difficult to get off to that bright shiny armour. Another brown, so it's brown, brown and brown onto the wooden parts of his rifle, and I had to watch the show a couple of times just on episodes and pause it to try and work out what parts are actually wooden on there. Maybe got it slightly wrong, but it's all about internal effect. A tiny bit of blue onto the triangle symbols on the back of his hands there, onto the armour, because again, if you watch the series you will see that there are blue details there. And that's it, simple colours, and now it's wash stages. I'm doing 3 different types of wash, using a Games Workshop sepia wash over all of Baby Yoda, using the same sepia wash across the whole of Mando, but not touching his armour at all. You've got to be really careful to keep this really clear of other colours, because we don't want it to look dirty. We want it to look sort of interesting and Beskar-y and sort of slightly shiny but slightly muted, but not very much not brown. Then we're using a Games Workshop Nuln Oil only on the metallic areas of Mando to give that sort of otherworldly, different looking metallic. And I've not touched the metallics other than that base coat, kept it really clean when I was painting the rest of the model, and then it's just Nuln Oil. I did do a couple of layers of Nuln Oil in parts, and then it was moving on. Now I did do the basing with the Vallejo sepia wash, but really your basing and what you do with that is entirely up to yourself, because that's not anything, you know, that you have to follow mine along, so didn't really show that being painted. Now it's detail time. So we're working on Baby Yoda, and the green I'm putting down now, and literally edge highlighting the raised areas where the light's going to hit, the top of the ears, the nose, the ridges in the head, and these colours are just the exact same colours I used in those first base stages. And you can now see that the variances in the greens, just with the wash onto his skin, you've got a couple of different colours of green showing through onto his face, and going back through and putting a highlight layer on with those same greens just makes it pop that little bit more, and it looks like you've used, you know, 2 or 3 different colours in his skin there. And actually it's a really, really nice little model to paint. Must be said, it's a tiny model. You can see here using a thin brush to pick up the detail on his fingers and things, but it's a lovely little model to paint. Some real nice folds in the cloth. You can see me highlighting here with, again, the original brown that we used from the very first stage, the flat earth colour I think it was. And we're doing the exact same thing, just really on the raised parts of the ridges on the cloth, and just this simple colour scheme really makes the tiny little model pop. Lovely little model, and really pleased I sort of picked them up. Now djarin, same principle. Oh, I've managed to call him djarin, called him the correct name. I think they only actually call him in the series djarin once or twice, so let's call him Mando again. But the same principle here, working on those leather areas, which we did with the second brown you saw there. Same principles, just hitting the areas where the light hits. Now the only additional colour we're going to use in this whole process, so we've come right up to the washes and everything, and now we're using exactly the same colours that we used before the washes. The only thing we're going to do different is his armour, because obviously we've not touched his armour now at all, apart from just that Nuln Oil wash across it. But we're going to take some actual metallics and just bring up his armour a little bit later on, because I think doing anything before this stage wouldn't have really added to what the armour looks like. I want to keep it real simple, kind of real crisp. So whilst we're doing all these other colours again and going back over and doing a second highlight, the armour really does work well if you keep it clean through the initial painting scheme. So here we'll show that, and it's not a difficult thing to do. Again, same thing we've already done, just using the armour on the raised areas where the light would hit. So a nice bright chainmail colour just to put some edge highlights on. And this is a really, really simple colour scheme. And essentially we're now, you know, finished. So I am going to do a little bit more Star Wars Legion coming up soon, because I've got a bit of a hankering for it. There'll be a Boba Fett painting scheme, next one for Daimyo Boba, and I'll probably leave it for a few months and, you know, maybe come back to it, because I've got a few concept ideas in my head. But that is the 2 models done. If you did enjoy this, it's a bit different to what I've been doing lately for the last year, a lot of 40k. But if you enjoyed a bit of Star Wars Legion, drop some comments down below, all the usual thing. Check out my Instagram, and all these things are obviously on there. But a real nice simple colour scheme, a nice diversion from what I've been painting a lot lately. And I'm going to drift off a little bit before coming back to 40k. So if you liked that, like, comment, subscribe, all that normal YouTube jazz, and I'll see you on another video.